Throughout the corridors of human history, a singular narrative has echoed across civilizations, transcending borders, languages, and epochs. It is the story of the warrior, not merely as a figure of battle, but as the embodiment of humanity's deepest psychological truths. Picture, if you will, a young soul standing at destiny's crossroads, weapon trembling in uncertain hands, confronting not an external foe, but the profound weight of existence itself. The question that pierces through his consciousness, whether he fights merely to survive or to discover meaning, reverberates through every human heart that has ever dared to seek purpose beyond mere existence. This eternal inquiry, carried by countless generations of seekers, soldiers, and dreamers, finds its most profound expression in the revolutionary psychological insights of Carl Gustav Jung. The renowned Swiss psychiatrist understood that within each human psyche lies an archetypal warrior, a primordial force that shapes our responses to life's inevitable challenges. This warrior archetype represents far more than physical prowess or martial skill. It embodies the fundamental human capacity for transformation, courage, and the relentless pursuit of authentic selfhood. Jung's exploration of the warrior archetype reveals a startling truth. We are all engaged in battles that extend far beyond the visible realm. Every sleepless night wrestling with doubt, every moment of standing firm against overwhelming odds, every choice to continue when retreat seems more appealing. These constitute the real battlefields where the warrior's spirit is forged. The modern world may have abandoned swords and shields, but the psychological warfare remains as intense as ever, demanding the same courage, resilience, and unwavering commitment to truth that characterized history's greatest warriors. The genius of Jung's psychological framework lies in its recognition that the warrior archetype is not an optional aspect of human nature, but an integral component of our collective unconscious. Across cultures and throughout time, this figure has manifested in countless forms. The noble knight bound by sacred codes, the disciplined samurai balancing martial prowess with philosophical wisdom, the protective guardian standing between innocence and harm. Each manifestation reflects the same fundamental truth, that within every human soul exists the capacity to rise above circumstances, to transform suffering into strength, and to discover meaning in the midst of chaos. Yet Jung's warrior differs dramatically from popular misconceptions of strength and power. The authentic warrior, as understood through psychological depth, embraces a profound paradox. True strength emerges not from the absence of vulnerability, but from the conscious integration of fear, doubt, and uncertainty. The warrior who has never tasted terror cannot truly understand courage. The one who has never confronted personal darkness cannot appreciate the light. This integration of opposing forces, strength and vulnerability, courage and fear, certainty and doubt, creates the psychological wholeness that Jung termed individuation. Consider the profound implications of this understanding for contemporary life. In our modern era, we may not carry physical weapons, but we face battles no less significant than those fought on ancient battlefields. The student persevering through repeated failures, the parent shouldering overwhelming responsibilities, the individual pursuing dreams despite societal skepticism, each embodies the warrior archetype in its purest form. These everyday heroes demonstrate that the warrior's path is not reserved for the extraordinary few, but represents the fundamental human journey toward authentic selfhood. The psychological landscape of the warrior reveals itself most clearly in the confrontation with what Jung called the shadow, those aspects of ourselves we prefer to deny, repress, or project onto others. The immature response to shadow material involves either complete denial or destructive projection, but the warrior's path demands a different approach entirely. The authentic warrior learns to face the shadow directly, neither fleeing from its darkness nor being consumed by it. This confrontation requires extraordinary courage because it means acknowledging our capacity for selfishness, cruelty, weakness, and failure, while simultaneously refusing to be defined by these limitations. This shadow work represents perhaps the most challenging aspect of the warrior's journey, because it cannot be accomplished through external action alone. It demands the kind of inner honesty that strips away comfortable illusions and forces us to confront the full complexity of human nature. Yet this confrontation, however painful, becomes the foundation for genuine strength. The warrior who has faced his own darkness no longer needs to project it onto others. The one who has acknowledged her own fears no longer needs to prove fearlessness through aggression or domination. Jung's insights reveal that the warrior archetype evolves throughout the human lifespan, manifesting differently at various stages of psychological development. In youth, the warrior often appears as rebellion, the fierce drive to establish independence, to challenge authority, to prove oneself against overwhelming odds. This youthful manifestation serves a crucial developmental purpose, providing the energy necessary to break free from limiting circumstances and establish individual identity. As psychological maturity deepens, the warrior archetype transforms into something more nuanced and sustainable. The middle years often call forth the warrior as protector and builder, the one who fights not for personal glory, but for the welfare of others, who channels strength into creating rather than destroying, who understands that true victory lies not in conquest, but in service. This evolution reflects Jung's understanding that psychological development involves a gradual shift from ego-centered concerns toward a broader identification with the collective good. In the later stages of life, the warrior archetype may manifest as wisdom, the hard-earned knowledge of which battles are worth fighting, and which are merely distractions from deeper truths. The elder warrior has learned to conserve energy for what truly matters, to choose conflicts based on meaning rather than impulse, to understand that sometimes the greatest courage lies in refusing to fight at all. This progression from rebellion through protection to wisdom illustrates the dynamic nature of archetypal energy and its capacity to serve different psychological needs throughout the human journey. The contemporary relevance of Jung's warrior psychology becomes particularly evident when we examine the challenges facing modern individuals. In an age of unprecedented technological advancement and social complexity, many people struggle with feelings of meaninglessness, disconnection, and psychological fragmentation. The warrior archetype offers a powerful antidote to these modern ailments by providing a framework for understanding struggle as potentially transformative rather than merely destructive. The key insight here is that the warrior's strength is not measured by the absence of difficulty, but by the capacity to find meaning within difficulty. This perspective transforms every challenge from a mere obstacle into an opportunity for psychological growth and self-discovery. The job loss becomes a chance to reassess priorities and discover new possibilities. The relationship conflict becomes an invitation to develop greater emotional intelligence and communication skills. The health crisis becomes a catalyst for examining what truly matters in life. This meaning-making capacity represents one of the warrior archetype's most valuable contributions to psychological well-being. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, observed that humans can endure almost any suffering if they can find meaning within it. Jung's warrior embodies this principle, demonstrating that the search for meaning is not a luxury, but a necessity for psychological survival and growth. The warrior's relationship with solitude deserves particular attention in our hyper-connected age. Jung understood that the archetypal warrior often walks a lonely path, not because of antisocial tendencies, but because the journey toward authentic selfhood requires periods of withdrawal from external influences. In solitude, the warrior learns to distinguish between the voice of authentic inner wisdom and the cacophony of social expectations, cultural conditioning, and unconscious projections. This necessary solitude should not be confused with isolation or withdrawal from life. Rather, it represents a conscious choice to create space for reflection, self-examination, and the integration of experience. The warrior who never takes time for solitude risks becoming reactive rather than responsive, driven by external circumstances rather than guided by inner wisdom. The periods of withdrawal serve as preparation for more effective engagement with the world. The psychological benefits of embracing the warrior archetype extend far beyond individual development. Jung believed that archetypal energies, when consciously integrated, contribute to the collective well-being of humanity. The individual who embodies the warrior's courage, integrity, and commitment to truth becomes a source of inspiration and strength for others. This ripple effect means that personal psychological work has implications that extend far beyond the individual psyche. Consider how the presence of even one person who embodies authentic warrior qualities can transform a family, workplace, or community. Their refusal to participate in gossip, their willingness to speak truth in difficult situations, their commitment to ethical behavior regardless of personal cost. These qualities create an atmosphere that encourages others to access their own inner warrior. This demonstrates Jung's insight that psychological transformation is inherently relational and that individual healing contributes to collective healing. The integration of the warrior archetype also provides a powerful framework for understanding and working with anger, aggression, and conflict. Rather than viewing these energies as inherently destructive, Jung's approach recognizes them as potentially transformative forces that can be channeled toward constructive purposes. The key lies in developing the psychological sophistication to distinguish between reactive aggression and conscious assertiveness, between destructive anger and righteous indignation that motivates positive action. The warrior who has learned to work skillfully with aggressive energies becomes capable of fierce compassion, the ability to take strong action in service of love and truth. This might manifest as the parent who sets firm boundaries to protect a child's well-being, the employee who refuses to participate in unethical practices, despite potential career consequences, or the citizen who speaks out against injustice, despite social pressure to remain silent. Jung's understanding of the warrior archetype also illuminates the relationship between individual strength and collective responsibility. The authentic warrior recognizes that personal power exists not for its own sake, but in service of something greater than the individual ego. This service orientation prevents the warrior energy from becoming narcissistic or destructive, while providing a sense of purpose that transcends personal concerns. This service orientation manifests differently for different individuals based on their unique circumstances, talents, and calling. For some, it might involve direct service to others through caregiving professions or volunteer work. For others, it might mean using creative talents to inspire and uplift, or applying business skills to create organizations that serve the common good. The specific form matters less than the underlying orientation toward using personal strength in service of collective well-being. The warrior's journey also involves learning to work skillfully with failure and setback. Jung understood that psychological growth occurs not through constant success, but through the integration of difficult experiences. The warrior who has never failed has never been truly tested. The one who has never experienced defeat has never had the opportunity to discover the deeper sources of resilience that exist beyond ego strength. This perspective transforms failure from a source of shame into a teacher of wisdom. Each setback becomes an opportunity to examine assumptions, develop new strategies, and discover previously unknown inner resources. The warrior learns to view obstacles not as evidence of inadequacy, but as invitations to develop greater skill, patience, and understanding. The relationship between the warrior archetype and creativity deserves special attention. Jung recognized that creative expression often requires warrior-like qualities, the courage to venture into unknown territory, the persistence to continue despite criticism or lack of recognition, the willingness to risk failure in pursuit of authentic expression. The artist, writer, musician, or innovator who brings something new into the world embodies the warrior's spirit as surely as any battlefield hero. This creative aspect of the warrior archetype suggests that the battles we fight are not only defensive, but also generative. The warrior fights not only to protect what exists, but to bring forth what has never existed before. This creative dimension adds richness and complexity to our understanding of warrior energy, revealing it as a force for innovation and transformation rather than mere preservation or destruction. The psychological integration of the warrior archetype also involves developing what Jung called the transcendent function, the capacity to hold opposing forces in creative tension rather than resolving them through one-sided solutions. The warrior learns to be both strong and gentle, both assertive and receptive, both independent and connected. This psychological flexibility prevents the rigidity that often characterizes immature expressions of warrior energy. As we near the conclusion of this exploration, it becomes clear that Jung's psychology of the warrior offers far more than an interesting theoretical framework. It provides a practical roadmap for navigating the complexities of contemporary life with courage, integrity, and purpose. The warrior archetype serves as an inner compass, pointing toward authentic selfhood and meaningful engagement with the world. The journey of awakening the inner warrior is not a destination, but a lifelong process of becoming. Each day offers new opportunities to embody warrior qualities. The choice to speak truth in a difficult conversation, the decision to persist despite discouragement, the commitment to treat others with dignity regardless of how they treat us. These seemingly small acts accumulate over time, creating a life of substance and meaning. Perhaps most importantly, Jung's warrior psychology reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles. The challenges we face, the fears we confront, the courage we must summon, these connect us to the universal human experience. Every person who has ever lived has faced moments requiring warrior-like courage, and every person who will ever live will face similar moments. This recognition can transform isolation into connection and a personal struggle into participation in the grand human adventure. The warrior's path ultimately leads to a profound paradox. The more fully we embrace our individual strength and authenticity, the more deeply we connect with others and with life itself. The warrior who has conquered the inner battlefield no longer needs to fight external wars. The one who has found inner peace becomes a source of peace for others. This transformation from conflict to harmony, from struggle to flow, represents the ultimate victory of the warrior spirit. In closing, remember that you carry within yourself the same archetypal energies that have inspired heroes throughout history. Your struggles matter, your courage counts, and your commitment to growth contributes to the evolution of human consciousness itself. The warrior's journey is not about becoming someone different, but about becoming more fully who you already are. In embracing this truth, you join the timeless ranks of those who have chosen meaning over comfort, growth over stagnation, and authentic selfhood over social conformity. The call of the warrior echoes through your life in every moment of choice. Will you answer with courage, knowing that the path ahead may be difficult, but that the journey itself transforms you into someone worthy of the challenges you face? The ancient warrior stands at the edge of the battlefield, weapon trembling in hand, and discovers that the greatest victory lies not in conquering others, but in becoming fully, authentically, courageously human.